What is up YouTube, this is Luis Joel and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm coming at you guys with another pork ribs video. We're going to be smoking these spare ribs in the Masterbuilt Electric Smoker. These ribs are going to be juicy, sweet, smoky, spicy, everything you could possibly want in a rib. As always, these recipes are easy to make at home, so enough talk, let's get into it. I got this 3-pack of St. Louis style pork spare ribs from Costco. They were on sale, so I just decided to pick them out. We're going to just carefully remove it from the packaging. After removing it from the plastic, you want to give it a nice wash in the sink just to wash off all the blood. And then make sure to pat it dry with a paper towel. You're going to want to carefully remove the membrane on the back of the ribs. Just take a fork, slip it right under the membrane, take a paper towel and just pull it off. It should come off pretty easily. This Morton's Tender Quick is a meat curing salt that I use to help create that pink smoke ring in the ribs. If you don't really care about a smoke ring, then you don't have to add this. I'm going to be seasoning these ribs with both Swamp Boy's Original Barbecue Rub and Meat Church's Honey Hog Rub. Swamp Boy's Rub is more for color and the Meat Church Honey Hog is more for sweetness. And you want to sprinkle an even layer of both rubs on each side of the ribs. Make sure you get the sides. Today we're smoking with the 30-inch Masterbuilt Electric Smoker. And I'm going to be setting the temperature to 275 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're smoking today with apple and cherry wood chips. I'm going to try to do about a 50-50 mixture of both the apple and the cherry wood chips. Just going to set the tray in and I'm going to let the smoker preheat. Once I started to get some smoke, I decided to start adding the ribs in. And when I put the ribs, I decided to put them in a crisscross fashion so that way they get plenty of airflow in between each rib. You can see since I let the ribs sit with the rub for a while, the rub got nice and tacky. No binder needed. I'm gonna let these ribs smoke at 250 degrees to 275 for about 3.5 hours. And I'm gonna make sure the vent is wide open. One trick I mentioned before is I like to leave the chip loader sticking out of the opening to allow a little more airflow. After about an hour and a half, I realized that I had put the much thinner rib of the three on the bottom rack closer to the heat source. So I decided to go back in and switch their spots so the thicker rib is closer to the heat so they cook more evenly. And I'm just going to spray them down with 50-50 apple cider vinegar and water. Now normally I would let these rock out for at least 3 hours before I open them and start spraying them, but since I was already out and I had already opened up the door, I decided to just spray them anyway. I'm going to let these rock out for another hour and a half before I start spritzing them again. And while I'm at it, I'm just going to add some more chips to the tray. After an hour and a half, I'm going to spritz them again. At this point, they started to develop a bit of a bark. Just took care to spritz some of the drier pieces, like the ends. Make sure to get the really crusty bits. I'm gonna let them smoke for another 30 minutes and then I'm gonna wrap them. After the ribs have been smoking for about 3.5 hours, it's time to go ahead and take them out and get them ready to wrap. Look at that beautiful red mahogany color that the rub just gives it. Here are the ingredients we're going to be using to wrap the ribs. I'm just going to layer a little bit of brown sugar, some parquet, and a little bit of Caro syrup. Just take care to put the ribs right on that, and then we're going to wrap it up tightly like a Christmas gift. I'm going to go ahead and do the same to both the other ribs. I'm just showing you another camera angle. I did have honey on hand, but I just wanted to use up this Caro syrup, so that's what I used today. When you go to load the ribs back into the smoker, make sure to keep them crisscrossing each other. We're going to let these smoke out for another hour and a half. After an hour and a half, I'm going to check the ribs for tenderness. I'm just going to go ahead and bend them. And if they bend a lot, then that means that they're pretty tender. These were decently tender, so I just let them run for another 20 minutes. Once the ribs were tender, I went ahead and removed them from the pink butcher paper. I didn't want to make a mess in my smoker, so I did it in a foil pan. Now we're just going to load them back into the smoker and we're going to get ready to glaze them. If you guys are interested in this barbecue sauce rib glaze I made, check out my pork belly burnt ends video for the recipe. Now don't go heavy with this sauce just because it is very sweet and we already added a lot of sweetness to the ribs and the wrap. We're just going to add a light glaze on top of the ribs just to finish them. And we're going to let this sauce sit onto the ribs for about 40, maybe 30 to 40 minutes just to let the sauce tack up. Another way to check if they're done is by using a probe thermometer or a toothpick and checking in between the bones. If they slip right through like butter, then that tells you they are tender enough to eat. Okay guys, after all your patience and hard work, you're rewarded with these beautifully smoked spare ribs. Make sure you have a sharp knife and you just want to chop in between each bone. You want to carefully do that without ripping the bark. And again, because we use that Morton's Tender Quick Curing Salt, we got that beautiful smoke ring. If you don't care about a smoke ring, then you don't have to use it, but I really think it just gives the ribs a beautiful presentation. And I don't think I need to tell you just how juicy these ribs came out. Amazing. You know, I hear a lot of talk on the internet about how electric smokers don't produce good barbecue, but I beg to differ. If you put in the time and the effort, this style of smoker can make some amazing barbecue. I mean, these results speak for themselves. And this is coming from a guy who's used an offset before. These ribs came out tender, but they weren't like fall off the bone, which is how I like my ribs anyway. Absolutely delicious. If you guys like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace out.